She thought she was dealing with a delivery girl, just someone in sneakers, walking into a space she clearly didn't belong. But what Catherine Blake didn't realize yet was that the woman standing in front of her would become the reason this entire company would never be the same again. It was Monday, 8:55 a.m., in the heart of downtown San Francisco. The lobby of Vindex Tower shimmered in the morning light glass, gold and marble, polished to perfection in every corner. Executives in tailored suits moved with purpose. Phones buzzed. Coffee steamed in branded cups. Everything had a rhythm, a hierarchy. And Catherine Blake moved through it like she owned the place. Senior VP of Marketing Strategy, Ivy League pedigree, Wharton MBA, and just the right amount of ruthlessness to keep everyone below her in check. Her designer heels clicked with precision across the marble floor. Her silk blouse caught the light just right. Her Louis Vuitton tote rested effortlessly against her hip phone in one hand, cappuccino in the other. She didn't glance around. She didn't need to. This was her world. Then the elevator chimed. Ding! And something shifted. A young woman stepped through the front doors, quiet, alone. She moved with a calm that didn't match the chaos around her. No suit, no makeup, not white. Cargo pants, black windbreaker. A matte gray bike helmet clipped to the strap of her backpack. Her curls were pulled back under a simple black cap. In her arms two brown paper bags, a tablet held close to her chest. No badge, no security pass, no assistant trailing behind. Just quiet confidence. Catherine spotted her instantly and frowned. There was something in the woman's posture, straight-backed, unbothered, that made Catherine pause. She shouldn't have paused, but she did. The woman looked up, eyes scanning the directory. Brown eyes sharp, alert. Then she walked toward the elevator. No hesitation. Catherine pressed her lips together, then stepped directly into the woman's path. "Excuse me," she said, voice smooth, polite, but her body blocked the way. The woman stopped. "This is a secured floor," Catherine continued. "Deliveries go through the back, loading docks around the corner." There was no sneer, no open hostility. Just certainty, the kind that comes from years of never being questioned. The woman, her name tag read Maya, offered a quiet smile. "I have a 9:30 scheduled delivery to the executive conference room, 15th floor." Catherine blinked, slowly. "You're delivering up there?" she repeated, as if testing how ridiculous the words sounded. Maya nodded. Calm, steady. "That's what the order says," she replied. "Requested by name. Handoff only." Catherine smiled, tight-lipped. She crossed her arms slowly, tilted her head just slightly to the side. "I work on that floor," she said, "and I'm not aware of any such meeting. And we don't allow random walk-ins." Her voice remained professional. But the message had changed. Maya didn't flinch. "I'm happy to wait until it's verified," she said. "I was instructed not to leave it unless it's handed off directly." Catherine's smile thinned further. She turned toward the front desk. "Could someone call up, please?" she said, voice edged with a fake laugh. "We seem to have someone a little unclear on the process." The receptionist hesitated. Maya didn't move. Just a few feet away, a junior associate glanced up from his phone. Across the lobby, a woman tilted her head, watching. Maya said nothing, but her presence said enough. She wasn't loud. She wasn't pushy, but she wasn't backing down either. Catherine's fingers tightened around her coffee cup. She didn't like being challenged, especially not by someone who looked like Maya, and especially not in public, because people were starting to notice, and Catherine wasn't used to being ignored. Not by interns, not by assistants, and certainly not by this woman. She stepped in closer, deliberate, measured. Her heels struck the marble sharp, precise. Now just inches stood between them. Maya didn't budge. She stood tall, hands loosely clasped in front of her. Shoulders back, eyes calm. A quiet peace radiated from her like an unshakable halo. Not confrontational, not afraid, just grounded. And that made Catherine furious. "Can someone," Catherine said, voice low but icy, "explain why a stranger is standing in the executive lobby this morning?" She didn't raise her voice, but it cracked through the air like glass. A chair shifted. Someone in HR turned their head. The espresso machine hissed, then fell silent. Catherine glanced at Maya's name tag. Then, with a flick of her wrist, she tilted her coffee cup. Clink. The name tag hit the floor. Maya bent down to pick it up, calm, controlled. But just as her hand reached out, Catherine's heel came down, right on the name tag. Not stomping, not loud, just enough, deliberate, calculated, intentional. No one said a word, but heads began to turn. A woman from legal squinted. A man near the entrance looked up from his fake email. And then, whispers, soft, spreading, like cracks in glass. "You're trying to walk onto the exec floor with paper bags and your name tag under someone's shoe?" Catherine's voice didn't rise, but it cut. Maya looked up, still calm, still centered. "I'm here on behalf of QuickGo," she said. "Even, steady, scheduled through your corporate account. They requested a direct handoff. 15th floor, executive boardroom." Catherine exhaled dramatically, then rolled her eyes. "I'm sorry, what?" she said, tilting her head. "You actually expect us to believe that?" She turned sharply to security. "Escort her out. Flat, final, before she wanders into a boardroom and spills juice on a quarterly report." Maya didn't move. Instead, she calmly reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small white card. She handed it to the receptionist. "You can give this to the team upstairs," she said. "I'll wait right here." No begging, no defense. She simply held her ground. Like a pillar in the middle of a storm, Catherine stormed forward, her face tight with fury. "That's enough," she hissed through clenched teeth. And then, without warning, she grabbed Maya's wrist, yanking her back a step. Her cappuccino tilted. Hot coffee flew into the air, splashing across Maya's sleeve, leaving a brown stain on the black fabric. A collective gasp rippled through the lobby. Somewhere, a phone clattered to the floor. A woman near the espresso bar covered her mouth. A man in a navy blazer shook his head in disbelief. A young intern glanced around. Her hand trembled, but she raised her phone. Not texting, not scrolling, recording. Quiet, focused, her eyes locked, the lens pointed straight at Maya. The air in the lobby turned heavy, like the ceiling might collapse. Maya stepped back just half a step, not in fear, but to steady herself. Then she gently pulled her arm free and adjusted the cuff of her sleeve, as if she were brushing off dust, not an insult. And then she looked up. Her eyes met Catherine's interest. Not angry, not shaken. Just one clear message. "I don't belong to your smallness." Ding. The elevator doors slid open. A tall man in a navy suit stepped out. His eyes scanned the room. And when he saw Maya, he smiled. "There you are," he said. "We've been waiting for you upstairs." And just like that, the entire lobby froze. Catherine stood frozen, half turned toward the elevator, half facing Maya. She didn't understand what had just happened. Why did that man know Maya by name? Why did the receptionist go so quiet? And why did her room suddenly feel like it wasn't hers anymore? The man in the navy suit stepped forward and extended his hand. "Maya Lee, right?" He smiled. "The COO wants to speak with you before the session. He's really interested in what your team is doing with the new delivery model." Someone near HR whispered aloud, "Wait, what?" More whispers followed. Maya didn't react. She simply nodded, shook his hand gently. Same posture, same calm, same clarity in her gaze. A wave of murmurs rippled through the lobby. Catherine instinctively took a step back. Her eyes widened, lips parted. She looked for words but found none. She could feel it, dozens of eyes turning toward her. Not looking to her for answers this time, but in silent judgment. Her face paled under the lobby lights. The man beside Maya turned to security. "We're good here. She's expected." The guard nodded, briefly avoiding Catherine's gaze. The intern near the espresso bar stopped pretending. She raised her phone fully now. The screen glowed as she typed a caption. "VP tries to kick black woman out of lobby, then realizes who she is." The pretense in the room had vanished. No more polite glances. No more half smiles. People turned away from Catherine. Some shook their heads. Others whispered. A young employee smiled at Maya as she walked toward the elevator. A woman from legal nodded respectfully past Catherine, not to her. The elevator stayed open. Maya glanced at Catherine. No smirk, no anger, just a look. A look that said clearly, "I don't need to prove anything to you." Then she stepped in. The man beside her pressed floor 15. The doors slid shut and reflected Catherine's face, slowly collapsing. She stood there, frozen. A whisper floated from near the coffee bar, just loud enough to reach her. She didn't even raise her voice. Catherine turned away. She knew exactly who they were talking about. She took a long breath, lifted her chin, turned and walked off. Her steps were precise, deliberate, like she still had something left to hold on to. But each step felt heavier than the last. She passed a group of employees whispering. One avoided her gaze. Another nodded at a video on his phone. Maya's face glowing on the screen. Catherine quickened her pace. Her heels no longer echoed with confidence. They sounded like retreat. She turned into a side hallway. The light was dim, no one else around. And there, just behind the now closed elevator doors, Catherine pressed a hand to the wall. Her back bent forward. Her shoulders shook. No tears, no sound, just a quiet, crumbling collapse. Like a castle whose foundation had finally been pulled away. For the first time in years, Catherine had no idea what to say next. Maya stepped in, no longer in cargo pants or a windbreaker. She wore a tailored navy blue suit. Sleek, simple, powerful. Her curls were pinned back into a neat bun. A single silver pendant rested at her collarbone. Sunlight poured through the tall windows, casting light across her shoulders. As she walked into the executive boardroom on the 15th floor, the same space Catherine had assumed she didn't belong in just an hour ago. No one had stood for Catherine. But now, everyone stood for Maya. The CEO stepped forward and extended his hand. "Thank you for being here," he said. "We've been looking forward to this." Then he turned back to the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "please welcome Maya Lee, founder and CEO of QuickGo, our newest strategic partner and equity investor." Silence fell like glass hitting marble. At the far end of the table, a CFO nearly dropped his pen. A man near the window blinked in disbelief. The name Maya Lee echoed in their minds. Familiar, but never truly seen. Catherine stood by the door. She hadn't been invited in, but she came anyway. No one stopped her, but no one acknowledged her either. She stood like a shadow in a world she once ruled. Maya opened her laptop. A slide appeared on the large screen at the front of the boardroom. Regional maps, logistics optimization, and sustainability metrics. She walked slowly to the presentation table, moved with quiet confidence, then began to explain how QuickGo's micro-distribution system was outperforming major providers, optimizing routes, cutting carbon costs, and speeding up delivery times. Her tone was calm, the data unshakable. Then came the moment. "Innovation," Maya said, clicking to the next slide, "is only half the story. The other half is access. It's about who we choose to include, not after they've made it, but before." The room went still. All eyes were on Maya now. She continued, "We've proven our system works. but that's not what I'm most proud of." She paused. "I'm proud because my team is made up of people who were once locked out of this system. People labeled as not the right fit, not aligned with company culture, or simply not like us." Her eyes turned to the CEO. He sat at the end of the table, nodding once clearly. He had seen the video. And more than that, he had seen his company's name trending alongside words like racism and discrimination. And this wasn't the first time. Last quarter, a black analyst quietly resigned after being mistaken for a waiter during the executive retreat. The quarter before that, an anonymous complaint surfaced that DEI training only happened once a year, with no follow-up. What happened in the lobby wasn't an isolated incident. It was just the one that got caught. And it had to be the last. Maya clicked again. A line graph appeared showing regional growth in the South. She wasn't just presenting as a CEO. She was speaking as someone who had once been denied a seat at this table. Then came the shift in tone. Subtle, quiet. Almost no one noticed, except the ones who needed to. Her voice deepened slightly. She placed her fingers gently on the edge of the table, then looked up at the sea of tailored suits in front of her. "You know," she said, "the first time I pitched this idea, they said I didn't look like someone who builds technology." A silence fell. Of course, no one said it out loud. That would have been too obvious. But it was in their eyes when they blinked, in the way they looked at my hands, then my face, then the empty seat next to me, as if waiting for someone else. Someone white, taller, male. A few people shifted in their seats. After that meeting, I sat in the hallway and cried. I had the data, the model, the strategy, but I didn't have them. Didn't have their belief. Didn't have their willingness to imagine that innovation could come in a shape they didn't recognize. She inhaled, slowly. That was college. Stanford. Computer science. I thought I'd made it. But every room after that kept reminding me I hadn't. That morning, just a few hours earlier, he stood in his office, watching the lobby footage on mute. No sound. Just images. Catherine, towering in front of Maya. The coffee tilting. The name tag hitting the floor. And Maya standing, still, calm, unflinching. He knew what this meant. Not just a PR crisis. Not just a storm of backlash. This was evidence. Proof of what they hadn't fixed. Of what his leadership, his silence had quietly allowed to persist. For years, Vindex had marketed itself as progressive. The website showed smiling, diverse employees beside polished laptops. The annual report quoted black and brown leaders in glossy spreads. But when the cameras weren't rolling, there were questions. Last year, an anonymous email landed in his inbox. It's not what you say in all company meetings, it read. It's who never gets to speak at them. He had bookmarked it. Promised to form a task force. Then moved on. But now, that task force had walked right into his lobby. And stood there. In silence. Making the whole building uncomfortable. Back in the boardroom, Maya continued. What happened in the lobby that wasn't new to me? I've been mistaken for an intern. For an assistant. For the person who brings the coffee. Sometimes it's subtle. Other times, it's not. But the message is always the same. You don't belong here. At least, not yet. She looked at Catherine, who sat stiffly, eyes avoiding hers. I'm not sharing this for sympathy, Maya said. I'm sharing it because you, this room, have the power to end it. Not with press releases. Not with hashtags. But by changing the question. She stepped forward, facing the CEO. When someone walks into your space, ask yourself, do I believe they belong here, even if they don't look like me? And if the answer is no, then start again, because that's where true leadership begins. The CEO slowly stood. Everyone watched. He didn't say much, just nodded, turned to the room and said, 10-minute break. When we return, we'll talk about equity, not just investment. As people began filtering out, Maya walked toward the window. From up here, the city looked small, tidy, like a blueprint. But she remembered clearly, it once felt completely out of reach. Later that afternoon, just before Maya left the building, the elevator doors at the ground floor slid open. She stepped in alone, pressed the button for the main lobby. Her shoulders relaxed, a slim folder tucked neatly under her arm. A long day. A good day, but still a day. Just as the doors were closing, a voice called out softly, "Wait, please." A young woman rushed, face flushed, nervous, barely in her 20s. Her name tag read Design Intern. "Are you Miss Maya Lee?" she asked, breathless. Maya held the door. The girl stepped in, wide-eyed, heart racing. I wanted to thank you," she said, voice trembling. Maya turned to her, calm as ever. "I'm the one who filmed it," the girl confessed. "In the lobby. I know I probably shouldn't have, but people needed to see it." Maya didn't scold. She didn't praise either. She just looked at the girl. Not just looked, saw her. A young woman not yet heard, but fully awake. "You didn't create that moment," Maya said softly. "You just made sure it wasn't erased." The girl nodded. I want to be like you," she whispered. "I mean the way you stood there, so calm, like you didn't care what anyone thought." Maya let out a quiet laugh. "Ding. It's not that I didn't care," she said, stepping out. "It's that I knew who I was. And that was enough." The doors slid closed behind her. The girl stood inside, eyes wide, holding something she couldn't quite name, but knew she'd never forget. The next morning, at 6:42 a.m., an email landed in every inbox at Vindex HQ. No banner, no glossy header, no all-staff subject line. Just a simple title, "What We Learned in the Lobby." Sender, Maya Lee. "Dear team, yesterday, I walked through the doors of this building as a stranger. Today, I return as a partner. But it's not my title that changed. What changed is our shared awareness that first impressions shape culture more than mission statements ever will. I believe in innovation, but I believe in equity even more. Because speed means nothing if we're racing ahead while others are being left behind. I want this partnership to be more than numbers. I want it to be a blueprint for what dignity at scale can look like. So, if you're ever unsure how to lead in a moment, start with this question. Would I treat this person differently if they wore a suit? If the answer is yes, reset. That's where leadership begins. Warmly, Maya. Some people read it twice. Others printed it out and pinned it beside their desks. In Maya's office, morning light streamed gently through the tall glass. On the left wall hung a carefully framed black and white photograph. Martin Luther King Jr., mid-March in Selma, 1965. Eyes forward, unshaken. Beneath it, a small quote in italics. "The time is always right to do what is right." Maya glanced at the photo, said nothing, just gave a quiet nod to herself, then turned off the screen and started the day. A day later, Catherine sat alone in her office, the same office that once made people nervous to knock. Now, no one knocked. No one asked for her input. Her inbox? Quiet, quieter than ever. Her phone buzzed. A message from a former colleague. "Catherine, what happened? That clip is everywhere." She didn't reply. Another text came through, this time from a PR partner. "We're suspending all branding collaborations until further notice from your company." Catherine lowered her head onto her desk. In her mind, she could still hear the applause from yesterday as Maya exited the boardroom in that navy suit, flanked by the CEO and the executive team. And Catherine? No one even said goodbye. A new email popped up on her screen. From legal. Subject line: regarding strategic director position. She clicked. We request that you step back from all duties until further notice from the board. An internal review hearing is scheduled for next week. The screen blurred through her vision. She picked up her phone, opened Twitter. Her name sat at the top of the trending list, right beside the hashtag #CoffeeGate. An 8-second clip. Her yanking Maya's arm, spilling coffee across her clothes. Maya's face? Still, calm, unmoved. And below, hundreds of thousands of comments. How to ruin your career in 8 seconds. Welcome aboard Karma Airlines. Did she think this was 1992? Catherine turned off the screen, eyes red. And in that final moment, she didn't see Maya anymore. She saw herself standing in that lobby, looking at Maya, saying nothing. And now, the world was looking back at her and saying just as little. If Maya's story stirred something in you, carry it forward. Share it with someone. Start a conversation. Because real leadership begins in the quiet moments, and every voice matters. Like, subscribe, and let's keep moving toward a world where everyone belongs.